This all started with Call of Duty on the Nintendo DS. So, if you watched my last video, you know growing up, I did not have much freedom to play games. That was not much of a thing. For whatever reason, we did have Nintendo DSs, and those were allowed to be played only on road trips. I do not know why. My cousins and I, and my dad, my brother, we went to like a church man camp. And I remember we would basically spend the entire time playing Nintendo DS, which was great. And I think it was Call of Duty 4. I don't even know if they called it Call of Duty, but it was a Call of Duty game on the Nintendo DS, and it had like the local Nintendo DS multiplayer, which was awesome. And I was pretty good at it, and I remember being better than everyone else at it. Also, Metroid Prime on DS, that was another one, and you had to use like a stylus on the touchscreen to aim because there wasn't an analog stick. Um, but I just had so much fun. So that was my first experience with a competitive game, and worth mentioning at this time, I grew up playing sports. I loved sports. I loved being competitive. So foreshadowing to interest in esports in the future. Later on, I was able to sneak CS:GO on my MacBook in high school. I think I was 16 or 17, and I would say I need to catch up on homework late at night, and I would play Counter Strike. Now, not what you're thinking, right? The internet was too bad because I lived on like a farmhouse, so I would just play against bots. I kid you not, I would play arms race, I would play normal game modes, whatever, against bots because that was the only thing I could do offline. But I would still play it even for 20 minutes here, 10 minutes there, whatever I could get away with. And I just got really hooked on shooter games. I realized I was pretty good. So that was probably 2013, 2014 ish. Fast forward to college, 2015, actually, I think it was 2016, actually. So sophomore year, I moved into the dorms my second year. And I experienced freedom for the first time. So a little aside, I promise I'll get to the esports stuff soon. Uh, I never really had any freedom of choice as to what I was doing. I mean, I did. It was like, hey, did you have free time? Do you want to play the piano or build Legos or mess around on the computer with supervision, which basically meant no internet or anything fun? Uh, yeah, so the first time I actually experienced true freedom, I got moved in and my family left. And I was there in my dorm room alone at college. I will never forget this day. It was the first time I ever experienced true freedom. I could basically do whatever I wanted. I had like a less, I think, around $1,000 in my bank account. So I started college. I had already started college for a year at that point. Actually, I was in my getting my computer science degree, and I could play three competitive games on my Mac. There's probably more, but three I was interested in. So the first one was League of Legends. Um, and I was hooked by watching. There's a famous double lift play. He's a pro player. Early on, I think he was on CLG at the time against TSM. But I was just amazed by that. It looked so cool. The crowd cheering, everything was amazing. My best friend was playing it at the time, and that began my journey watching esports. I also played two others that ran on the Mac. There's a Rocket League beta on Mac, and my a friend of mine from across the hall, who is later on a roommate of mine, played it, and so I got Rocket League right when it first released on Mac, and I hit Diamond, which was really good back then. My skill level now in the game would probably legitimately be bronze or silver. I haven't played it in so long, but I would do 1v1 wagers for money in college against other people because I got really specifically good at 1v1s. And then Counter Strike. I could actually play on the internet. I'd play with my cousins. I'd play with friends from college, other people. Play a decent amount solo. Of all of those, I loved Counter Strike the most. I just loved shooters. There's something about some natural knack I had. I don't know, hand-eye coordination or what it is, but um, holding the mouse, aiming, being precise with it, it was just awesome. So I continue on with my computer science studies. I make some friends, but nearly all of my free time goes towards video games. So this fast forward to junior year, 2017. PUBG comes out and it blows my mind and just about everyone else's. I know that Fortnite has kind of captured that, like the public eye when it comes to battle royales, but people forget that there was a solid 6 months to a year where like no one gave a rip about Fortnite and PUBG was the whole deal. I did kind of miss the H1Z1 wave, which I think was like a year earlier. I don't really know why or how. But PUBG came out, everyone was trying to play it. And I got a gaming laptop. I spent like half of what was in my bank account at the time to get an Acer Predator Helios 300. For whatever reason, it was so special to me. I remember the model name. I played with friends and was fairly decent. Um, I won a lot of games, and I watched Shroud and some other people, but Shroud was the main one I watched. And I watched the early PUBG esports as well. So yeah, I loved that game. I still occasionally play it, even though I have a love hate relationship. The game's so clunky, but I just have a lot of nostalgia for it. So I played a variety of other games, but this is on a gaming laptop, right? So I got 30 to 60 frames. I played early Fortnite a couple months after it came out. I played Overwatch. I played Black Ops 4 and Blackout. By the way, Blackout is a great game. To this day, I say Blackout is better than Modern Warzone. Call me crazy, but I swear it is. Warzone on release actually is pretty good. Warzone on year one was pretty decent. But I prefer Blackout, and Warzone now sucks. IMO, but whatever. Battlefield 1 and 5 as well. By this point, like junior to senior year, I had come to three conclusions. So one was I'm better at shooter games than all of my friends. And now you might be like, oh, he's just saying that. No, I don't have my face. There's no like, I'm not trying to get internet points by saying, oh, I'm really good at shooters. Like I was genuinely better than anyone else I knew, at least at shooter games and at every shooter game, actually. Um, the second conclusion is I'm especially good at high movement, long TTK games and battle royales. So think like long TTK, like how long it takes to kill someone, like Overwatch, high movement stuff. Overwatch, um, any sort of jetpack, grappling hook, high movement game. And then battle royales. I think more strategically, I could think about how teams would play around each other in battle royales, and I preferred it than over the tac shooter like Counter Strike version of things. The third conclusion I came to was that I love being competitive. Now, I knew this from sports and karate and playing chess growing up, but this was kind of another level. I think it's another level when you go from like good to like great at a thing. By great, but like top 1%, you know? So 2019 rolls around, senior year of college for me, second semester. So I've got nearly everything done. I am just down to 3 remaining classes my second semester, 9 credits, which is like half a credit load. And I was chilling. You know, I had kind of overloaded the earlier years and I got to reap the benefits of that. So at this point, I'm watching PUBG, Counter Strike, League of Legends, and Rocket League esports whenever I can. I basically go to class, do homework, hang with friends, watch esports, or play games. And I remember it's February 2019. I'm sitting in class and I'm bored. And I tune into Shroud's stream on Twitch. I'm like, what's this game? I've never heard of this game before. It looks different. Apex Legends. Man. I saw what the game looked like, how it worked, that it was based off the Titanfall universe, and I got back from class, pressed download, and waited for hours and played it as soon as I possibly could. I averaged, it's so embarrassing to say this, I averaged 6 to probably 10 hours a day in Apex the rest of that time. I literally did as little else as possible, except for I'd hang with friends because I knew I was graduating soon and I did my homework, obviously. And I got really good really fast. B-hop healing, wall bouncing, tap strafing. If you haven't played Apex, you have no clue what I'm talking about. But think complicated movement tech, which I think is like one of the things that people come to know about Apex is that. And then I watched the esports early on. And eventually, years and years later, made a whole document, like a full length documentary about the esports. That was the end of college for me. I graduated and started working full time. The problem was an average day looked like this. I wake up, I, you know, really quickly get ready. I go to work. I get there hopefully by like 8, but probably like 8:15, 8:30. Um, I work until 5, drive home. I'd get home, I would eat and play video games. I kid you not, probably until 1 or 2 a.m. And then I would sleep and then wake up 5-ish hours later and go to work. That was my life. I hardly did anything else. Um, and I lived a lifestyle that degenerate probably 2 to 3 years. And I think most people go through that phase in like high school. Um, they get interested in games in elementary school, middle school, and if they're really hooked on them, they're pulling those DGen hours in high school, and then they kind of maybe grow out of it through college and after. But I had all of that journey offset by like 5, 6, 7 years, because I only started really truly playing games against other people, shooters, at age 19. Frankly, something I always wonder is if all of this would have worked out if I had been able to play when I was younger. So, um, when not playing Apex, I'd still play some of my old ones like Counter-Strike and League of Legends, but I also picked up, well, 4 other games, but the fourth one will get a larger story. So 3 small ones. So Crunker, yes, I know most people played this in school. I learned the movement tech. I hit top 100 in the world in the ranked charts. I actually had a ton of fun playing that game, but just kind of a total waste of time. I was trying to join clans and stuff that probably people were trying to do at like 14, and I was like 21. So that's kind of embarrassing. No, not 21, like 22 or 23. I had a brief stint actually during this time of streaming. I mainly streamed Crunker, and I did actually okay. I think getting to like 10, 15 average viewers after a few months is pretty good. But then I obviously didn't continue it, or maybe not obviously. Spoiler, I didn't. I played a game called Battalion. It was like kind of a 1944 like World War II style game of Counter-Strike meets COD. Very solid. I wish the game had a larger following. Um, Crunker fell off. Battalion straight up got shut down. The third game was a game called Darwin Project. Now, I to this day, of all of my time, literally 7,000 hours into games that nearly was all completely wasted. Uh, I do not regret my time in this game. Actually, the community, the way you fought, it was like a battle royale meets a fighting game meets a shooter. It was very special, very cool, very good ideas. Just honestly, way ahead of its time. So this would be between like say 2020 and 2022. Um, I would play these 3 games, Apex, and the game I'm about to talk about. Now, my problem was I did put up TikToks. I put up TikToks. I put up some random YouTube videos. I streamed a little bit, but I really half-assed it. Um, I didn't really try to get into scrim servers, which I probably could have at the skill level. One thing I didn't throw into my notes that I'm glancing at, I played a lot of aim trainers, Kovacs, aim labs, and I got really good. Believe it or not, those do help. I got, after graduating college, I got a better PC. I got a 144 hertz monitor and eventually a 360 hertz monitor. And anyone who says that better peripherals doesn't help and any frames over 60 or 144 doesn't make a difference, either they have the worst eyesight in the world or they're just straight up lying, because those offer a lot. And I was still really good, and some of these clips, I mean, I have multiple TikToks with 1 million, 2 million views, and many others with hundreds of thousands. I've had YouTube videos with tens of thousands of views. I just didn't push hard for it. I should have picked one or the other or both, pro or content, but I didn't. I'm getting ahead of myself. The fourth game, probably the most important outside of Apex Legends, was a game called Hyperscape. The day Hyperscape came out and I played it, I thought, wow, this is the one. Um, it had everything I loved in it. Like great movement, but also it's fairly simple. Um, the guns were hit scan, which I really love with a Counter Strike quote unquote background. Um, and within a month or two, I was, uploading clips, putting them on Twitter, on Reddit, TikTok, and I was gaining traction. People knew me. People knew me in the community. I started getting invited. I got invited to every single region's scrim servers. Um, I won. It was me among me and probably maybe 1 to 2 to 3 dozen other players that just ran every lobby. Um, I remember just thinking, oh my gosh, I'm definitely top 100 in the world in this game. And it's like blowing up because I remember the first month or so, Asu was playing it. It's Timmy was playing it. Mendo was playing it. I think Shroud played it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am insanely good. And this game is popping. And there were esports team scouts in these discords. There was DMs going on. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I made it. So I just kept it up. And so I would be working and I would just get off work, or if I worked from home some days or eventually permanently, I would like take breaks in between and play matches. I don't actually know. I don't think Ubisoft tracks how many hours you had in the game, but it was a lot. So what happened? Well, if any of you are familiar, most people listening are probably like, I've never even heard of this game. But if you have, you probably know, oh, that game like kind of popped up and disappeared, didn't it? Well, it took 2 to 3 years for it to actually properly disappear, but it was out of the zeitgeist in 3 months. Um, Ubisoft, through all the marketing at like a week or two of stuff and a tournament, a PAX tournament, I actually couldn't make it to, but got invited to. And that was it. There wasn't any more marketing. We never saw it anywhere. I mean, the marketing was they would retweet my clips, people like Zane's or Stasis's or Invictus's clips, and that was it. I'm like, wait, are me and kind of the friends and people I'm adding on Discord and these Discords I'm in about it, are we just the only marketing of it? Like none of us are tier one or really even tier two streamers. Like I think after the first couple months, the largest consistent streamer on Hyperscape was pulling maybe 1,000 concurrent viewers. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're not going to run any more ads. They're not going to do partnership stuff. Nope. Ubisoft made matters worse by like, instead of making small balance changes, they just swung for the fences and changed stuff. Like I think one time they doubled and then halved the TTK in the game. Like 1 month after each other, and completely changed like the way the game acted as a whole, not like adjusting some weapon damage values, like crazy stuff. And it alienated a lot of the people who liked the game, one way or another. At one point they made, oh my gosh, I could rant about this forever, but I'll keep it short. They made aim assist quite literally aimbot. Now this is joked about constantly by mouse and keyboard players, about controller players, but I mean this literally. They accidentally tweaked it so high that if you had your crosshair on someone and they did like there's an ability you could pick up that was a teleport, it would follow you through the teleport, literally glued to you. So yeah, there was just dumb stuff like that. So through game balance and through lack of marketing, Ubisoft threw it away. And I'm not going to lie, after a year of just watching the game fall, I was maybe not entirely depressed, but depressed about my passion. Um, and I kept playing other games. I played Apex, played others. but it just fell into a drudgery. I'd upload an occasional TikTok or YouTube video, but I just was not dedicated to becoming a pro. I could have at the time. I could have pivoted to Fortnite. I could have pivoted back to Apex and actually tried, and I never did. I just kind of fell into the habits of it. So about 3 years ago, which would be 2022, I just realized I was super behind on life. I'd gone from fairly fit before and during college to putting on 30 plus pounds. I had a variety of small health issues, thankfully just small, but still ones that weren't getting taken care of. I didn't take care of things in life that I needed to. Like I didn't upkeep a lot of my friendships. I didn't take care of long-term to-dos. Like I knew I had to like you know how you have to go to the DMV and like redo your license plate every couple of years or whatever? I just straight up didn't do it. And I was like, what happens if I get like pulled over? I'll probably get like a massive ticket or get my license revoked or something. Um, and as an adult, there's just a lot of random little to-dos in life, and I just was avoiding them. So I realized, okay, I need to work on turning things around. So this is probably a topic for a different video, but in short, I made a list of everything I needed to get done, and it was long. I think it was like 50 plus items long of small, medium, and large things that need to get done. And I allocated a small portion of time per day to being productive. I think I started with like 15 minutes a day because I had so little self discipline at that point, um, that I'd come home and I'd just watch YouTube, social media, eat, play video games. That was it outside of work and sleep. And so I just dedicated 15 minutes a day. And it was actually hard the first couple times. But after I was like, okay, I made the rule of 15 minutes. And I slowly started raising that over the months and then years. And I started chipping away at time with games. And I realized I was addicted. It had gone from being a passion to just a straight up habit, and not a good one. Um, I pushed more on productivity, a long, very long, but worthwhile path. And I moved the remainder of my playtime specifically towards making content. And I actually, through consistent TikToks, around a year or two ago now, I made a few $1,000s from TikTok ad revenue from it. And now, after 3 years since that kind of realization and decision to take action, I'm down to anywhere from an hour or two with friends in a night. Less playing the game and more just as a way to chat with them if we happen to play a game at the same time, to 0 hours in a day. Plenty of days I don't play games at all. I came to the realization regarding the esports stuff. During this time, I guess I probably glazed over at my story. I'm not sure if I mentioned it. I played scrims in some games. I played tourneys in some games. You can look up my stuff. My gamer tag is fierce with 2 eyes. I made an esports documentary. I got, I think 20-ish million views across all socials. I was actually really good, decently entertaining. I probably could have gone into a pro path, or very much more likely a content path if I had dedicated to it. But I realized, especially as I got older, and especially 2 years ago when I started dating my now wife, like, I do not have the time anymore if I want to be responsible with my work, with my projects, whether business or not, with my health, with relationship, to do content on the side, or especially to become a pro. Because my competition is 15-year-olds with almost no responsibilities, barely doing any homework, playing and grinding 10 hours a day. Like, I just realized that doesn't make any sense. And I had frankly let the dream run its course. I had years to make it work. So, what are my life lessons? So one is probably the most important one, is be mindful and disciplined with your time. So I'm in my late 20s. It feels really weird that I'm here. Like, genuinely really weird. That's partly because I just played games. Let me pull this up actually. If I do 7,000 hours, which I don't even think is my total time playing games, that's just competitive games, divided by 24. Yeah. Gosh. That is 292 days of playing games, like full 24-hour days. Now, if we turn that into days that were just waking hours, like say 16, 17 hours a day, that's over a year of waking hours straight playing games. Now, how much of that made good memories? Probably 1% of it. Seriously, whether really skillful, fun plays in the game or just times laughing with friends. I hear this argument a lot. It's not time wasted if you're having fun. Wrong. There is such a thing as too much fun. Like, you have a future to take care of. I don't care if you're 14 or 40. You've got a future. Your future girlfriend or wife, your kids, your grandkids. There's a future to take care of. And don't get me wrong, having fun is great in reasonable amounts. There were times, like many times, especially in the last couple of years, less so in college, that I got sick of playing games. Yet I still did it out of habit. And there's still that habit in me after years of me drilling this down from 6 hours a day to 4 hours to 2 hours to 1 hour to 30 minutes and getting to the point where I play nearly no games solo. There's still the twinge of me wanting to like just do it. Do I have that much fun doing it anymore? Not much. Maybe on occasion. I mainly have fun when I'm doing it as a social activity with friends. Yet there's still that pull, which means it was made just a habit that I sat down on my computer and that's just what I did. That's just so pointless. It's genuinely frustrating when I think about it. So the second life lesson is that if you have a crazy dream or goal, actually go for it, but with boundaries. I had two problems. I didn't actually go for it. I preached to friends of mine who also played games or wanted to make it. I preached that you needed to stream, you need to put clips on social media, you need to make YouTube videos. I didn't follow most of my own advice. I did it off and on. And there are periods, especially near the end, where I got more consistent, but I didn't actually full send it. Like, if I had really dedicated, if I could go back in time and I couldn't tell myself not to pursue it, I would have chosen one game. Could have been PUBG, could have been Apex, could have been Fortnite. And I'm like, you're going to grind this game and you're going to try to play, get into tier 3 scrims, then tier 2 scrims, and then tier 1 scrims, and then try to, get on a team. And while you're doing that, you're going to be streaming all the whole time. And then you're going to take parts of those streams and make them YouTube videos and parts into clips. And you're going to do all of that daily or weekly, whatever makes sense. And you're going to do that for months and then years. And you will reap the benefits. I've seen so many people with my skill level or less and my entertainment level or less actually make it just because of years of consistency or even just 6 months of consistency. But I didn't follow that. There wasn't consistency. The second problem I had inside this, going for a dream is I didn't have any boundaries. Instead of giving myself 1 year to hit certain content or competitive performance standards, and then either succeeding in them and pushing forward or quitting, I didn't do anything. I just kind of kept playing the games a lot. I really wish I'd either fully dedicated to being a pro or a content creator and picked a single game, and time boxed that to like a year, maybe 2. And like, hey, you're going to try to make yourself an esports pro and or content creator in these 2 years and go at it, really, go work, do that, sleep. Okay. But if you don't do that in these 2 years, if you don't hit, a certain amount of money earned or being signed to a team or making it your full-time job, then you have to drop it and you have to pick up other hobbies, other projects, other businesses. The TLDR is chase your dreams, but with a realistic rules of how long you'll try and what success will look like. And then the third life lesson I learned through all this is that I wish I'd spent that time doing the following. Instead of playing all those games and pursuing esports, I wish I'd spent it in time with friends making IRL memories. I definitely have fun memories playing games, scrims, tourneys, but nothing close to my real life memories. I don't really know why that is, but it just is that way. I think about my time spent IRL playing in volleyball tournaments or doing sports or hanging out with friends, and it's less time than in games, yet with way more memories attached, way more positive memories, doing stuff that was better for my body. B, I wish I'd spent that time learning or bettering consistent skills. Trying to become a pro at something is like asking to win the lottery, right? And if you're going to do it, maybe you have the natural skill and the practice. Okay, in a time box to give it a try, but it is very unlikely to become an NBA player, NFL player, a pro Counter-Strike player, a Fortnite pro. I wish I'd put that effort, that competitive effort into something more consistent, because I think it would have been better in terms of just my money probably. Um, the third thing that I wish I'd spent that time doing, probably the most important one, is on my health. I have a variety of small health issues, even now, and that wouldn't have happened, or nearly all of them wouldn't, if I'd focused even an hour a day towards my health during my early 20s, and I didn't even do that. And trust me, it sneaks up on you. I'd never had like problems before. All growing up, I was that kid who played like every sport, and just I was honestly really thin, but I never had weight problems or these other problems. So those are my life lessons. Let me know if there's any questions you have or other things you want to hear about or thoughts about all that I just said. I'd love to hear if anyone else here tried to go the content creation route or pro gamer route and it didn't work out, or you decided against it, or it did work out. Um, you know, tell me what lessons you learned from it and how that went. Um, Also, just a bit of feedback. Do you like my little videos and images? I've added the story more visually. I decided on this video I'm going to add in post, and editing a little bit more like images and videos during it, showing the things I'm talking about. Um, but it does interrupt the consistent Minecraft gameplay. So let me know what you prefer, and I'll just go forward with what people in the comments prefer. So yeah, thanks for listening. Have a good one.